Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Bhalabha Giribhara Dhari Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotara Shatashi Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Garantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shishiguru and Shigoranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, the Summon Bonon, Chapter 53, Krishna kidnaps Rukmini, text number 10 and number 11. Something happened in my thing here that it doesn't. Okay, 1 second. One. Yeah, okay. Just give me 1 second that the verse doesn't appear in the program that I have. So. Text number 10. Pritim deva pritim devan samabhyacha pritim deva samabhyarcha vipranscha vidhivam nipa Vipramscha bhidibam niripa Vojajitva jatanyayam Vachajan ashamangalam Pitrindevan samabhyarcha Vipranscha vidinvam nripa Bojajitva jathanyajam Bachajan ashamangalam Pitrindevan samabhyarcha Vipranscha bhidivam nripa Bojajitva jathanyajam Bachajan ashamangalam. Please chant. Pitrim, the forefathers, Devam, the demigods, Samabhyarcha, correctly worshipping, Vipram, the Brahmanas, Cha, and Vidhivat, according to prescribed rituals, Nripa, O King, Parikshit, Bojajitva, feeding them, Yatha, as, Nyayam, is just, Bachajam asa, he had chanted, Mangalam, auspicious mantras. Translation by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. O King, in accordance with prescribed rituals, Maharaj Bhishmaka worshipped the forefather, demigods and brahmanas, feeding them all properly. Then he had the traditional mantras chanted for the well-being of the bride. Text 11. Shushnatan sudatin kanyam krita kautaka mangalam ahatam sukajukmena bushitam bushanotamai. Translation and purport by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. The bride cleaned her teeth and bathed, after which she put on the auspicious wedding necklace. Then she was dressed in a brand new upper and lower garments and adorned with most excellent jewel ornaments. Purport. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, only spotless clothing fresh off the loom should be worn during auspicious ceremonies. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Ummilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurube Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Rupa Swami Dinamine. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. So, one of the things of Lord Krishna's pastimes in Dwarka is that he performed the duties of a householder for the benefit of human society. So there is all these performances of duties, of dharma, or rituals, all these things that Krishna follows. And as a matter of fact, Krishna's devotee. So the whole pastimes of Dwarka shows how civilized society, Vedic society, functions. Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, he in the Bhagavad Gita, he says he doesn't have to do all these things. He's not bound to follow any rules and regulations. But he does it because he's setting an example, and therefore that example is for people to follow. So we have the exposure as we listen to these pastimes of Krishna in Dwarka, how also along with the sweet, beautiful, and exciting pastimes of Krishna, we also get entrance to the Vedic culture. And the Vedic culture is the divine culture that has been designed by Krishna himself for human society. And is very refined. And everything is meant to have the proper environment. And sometimes that's called also habitat. The proper environment or habitat to elevate yourself in Krishna consciousness, to facilitate self-realization. So everything in Vedic culture is designed like that. It's a culture that is designed for elevation of consciousness. And such is a culture that promotes and facilitates the mood of goodness. So also we can take that, the word culture. The word culture have some also Latin roots that have to do with cultivation. And in general, that word is used in different manners to describe the activities of growing something. And, in agriculture, culture refers to creating a proper soil, the whole process of growing, plants and vegetables and all these things, right? So, and you do that from the seed. So, an expert farmer who is a cultivator, he is able to create the circumstances by which the whole potential of the seed, the whole potency of the seeds becomes manifested. So we see from a little tiny thing, then, a beautiful plant that can give so many goods, fruits or eatables, comes. So it takes, a very structured system of cultivation. You till the ground, you make sure that the soil is proper, you plant the seeds, you water the seeds, you make sure that you have the proper habitat and environment, and then it grows. Similarly, when we talk about a culture, and specifically here a Vedic culture, culture is meant to grow and to facilitate the potential of society, of persons, of the members of society, of people. That's what culture means. When we see someone, there's when you see, this is a very good culture, is when you see people that are educated, that are elevated, that their potential is being facilitated. Very good culture. And when you see bad culture, is when you see people that is lawless, that is uncivilized, like that. That's a very bad culture. So culture refers to that. And with Vedic culture is about self-realization. So everything has a purpose. So we see all these rituals, all these rules and regulations. Some of them are like, why? Why do you have to use a cloth or in an auspicious ceremony, like, say, marriage or initiation, or any auspicious ceremony? The direction is that you use a brand new cloth as a garment, fresh from the loom. So that is perfectly pure and unused and untouched. Nothing has been added. You don't put it in water, like that, or it's just fresh. So, what's the big deal? Why these things? Why not, you buy something, you take it to the dry cleaning, you make sure that it's very, very nicely clean, and you put it on. But no, it's specifically like that. And then there are so many other things that, we have that are recommended for rules and regulations and rituals and all these things that we have to follow. But why we have to follow those things? Why they are important? And the whole thing is about having a means of, how would you say, it's not only giving certain type of a structure of how to live a life that is cultivating all these different qualities of purity, cleanliness, simplicity, humility, all these things that are necessary for the moral goodness, that are part of the potential of the living entity, and also that are necessary for creating the proper habitat and the proper environment to grow in Krishna consciousness. But also, these things are all these rules and regulations, all these rituals, they're part of a whole system that is called samskaras. The system of samskaras. Samskaras there's throughout the life of the living entity, from the time of conception to the time of death, there is so many of these different auspicious times that are considered very important. And in each of those auspicious times, there is a particular set of regulations to be followed that will guarantee something that is very important, which is a samskara. Samskara is a Sanskrit word that describes that it leaves an impression in the consciousness, in the heart, of a particular system of life, of how you will live your life. So, when you're involved in these important moments in your life that they're part of auspicious ceremonies, then the impression is that you have to be pure externally and internally. Your consciousness should be very, very much tuned into the activity of a sacrifice or a yajna. Usually all these auspicious activities, samskaras, are meant for the satisfaction of the Lord. They're considered to be activities that are performed as a sacrifice to the personality of Godhead. So Krishna says that he have given, or he have created in this cosmic creation, he have created a system that is called the system of yajna. And that system of yajna is maintained or is presented by the demigods and human beings. So Krishna says in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita that in the beginning of creation, he, the Lord of all, have given both man and demigod the system of yajna, and blessed them by saying, be thou happy by the performance of this yajna, because by the performance of this yajna, 2 things will happen. One is a short-term result, and another one is a long-term result. So by the performance of this yajna, according to the rules and regulations that the Lord has given, then the short term is happiness. You will achieve everything you need to be happy in this world. So happiness through the performance of yajna. And the long term is liberation, moksha. So not only we, by the performance of yajna, can live a happy life in this world, but at the end of this life, we can actually go back home, back to Godhead. So Krishna has given this process. And earlier in the Bhagavad Gita, he explains that yajna karmanonyatra, that this process of yajna is to be offered to him as a yajna artha, as the beneficiary of all yajnas. So, Krishna has given us a system. Krishna has given us a structure. He tells Arjuna, right in the beginning of his instructions in Bhagavad Gita, he tells Arjuna, listen carefully, Tatshrinu. Listen very carefully. This is right after, 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, right after he described the Atma Tattva. You're not this body, you're a spirit soul. Then he goes to say to him, now, I'm going to explain to you a system that if you apply it, you will be free from the reactions of acting in this world. This karma bandhana of this entangling results of my actions, you will be free from that. So listen very carefully to this system. So Krishna is teaching us a system. Krishna is organizing a whole structure for us to be and to live in order to elevate ourselves to Krishna consciousness, to self-realization. So everything is like that. And when you have a structure means rules and regulations. There is a system to follow. There's a system that we have to learn and follow. And when we learn that system, when we start to apply it, then we naturally, the elevation is there, the application is there, and the results will be there. Krishna promised that. So that's the culture, that's the Krishna culture. That's what Prabhupada has bring to us. He has bring us a culture based on the teachings, on the system that Krishna has given us. And everybody have to learn that. Because regardless where we have taken birth, either, in India or in Europe, America, Africa, Asia, any place, the circumstances in this material world that we take in, and especially in this Kali Yuga, is that we take birth in circumstances that are part of the mode of ignorance and passion. Regardless, even in India, that, Vedic culture is more available there. Is part of the history, of the background. Even then, people are also afflicted by the mode of ignorance and passion. So to learn Krishna culture is something that everybody, Krishna is telling Arjuna, listen carefully. And it took Arjuna some good time, he had to ask many questions. Sometimes he had to ask repeatedly the same question to try to understand this system that Krishna has given. And he is an Aryan, he's a follower of Vedic culture. So there is a system, there is a structure. And the structure is meant to bring out the potential that we have. So these things are given in the Manu Sanghita. And also there, not only in the Vedic scriptures in general, but you will see in many of the different branches of the Vedas, the same principle is being presented. And, for example, in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, there is the Ashtanga Yoga system being presented. And the first two branch or elements of this Ashtanga Yoga means eightfold. So the first two is Yama and Niyama, which is rules and regulations. So you start with that. You start with understanding that there's not just a thing of, this is all free for everyone. That you can figure it out, you can do your thing. No. You fall, if you're going to enter into a system, into a structure, there's the rules and regulation first. And we see that the tendency, people say, yeah, I'm a practitioner of yoga. I've been practicing yoga for 25 years, 40 years, something like that. And then, but you see, they have no rules and regulations. They just go straight to asanas and pranayama and this type of thing, without going to the two first elements, yamas and niyamas, the do's and don'ts. So I give you an example. Some of the things that they're part of, the system of yamas and niyamas. So I had a friend. We had some a couple of years ago, 3 years ago. COVID just killed it. But we have a program in the yoga place, and we have a place called the Bhakti Loft. And one of the persons, a good friend, who is a teacher of yoga, very successful teacher of yoga. So I was, teaching Bhagavad Gita there, and at the same time to understand the whole thing of how to preach to the yoga crowd, I was learning, the yoga system with Darren. And, we were going through this thing. So this is some of the notes. So when it comes to the yamas and niyamas, so this is, I read. This is from the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. There are 5 for inner purity. Well, actually, the Vedic path consists of 10 general rules of moral conduct. There are 5 for inner purity, called the yamas: truthfulness, ahimsa, or non-injury to others, and treating all beings with respect. No cheating or stealing, celibacy, and no selfish accumulation of resources for one's own purpose. So very similar things that we read in the Bhagavad Gita. Later in chapter 13, Krishna gives us, 20. When Arjuna asks, what is knowledge? Then Krishna gives a whole breakdown of 20 qualities that are required for, being a human being. He put it like that. In the Bhagavatam, Narada Muni instruct Maharaj Yudhishthira with 30. And he says, if you're going to be a human being, you have to get these ones down, 30 qualities. Patanjali, he gave, these 10 rules. So the 5 for inner purity, so truthfulness, non-violence, this samadarshana, or treating all beings with respect, and no cheating, celibacy, and no selfish accumulations of things, so over-accumulating stuff, material stuff. Krishna also says in the Gita that to have this vyavasayatmika buddhi, or this fixed intelligence that will allow us to, sort of navigate very swiftly into the path of self-realization, single-pointed intelligence. For that to manifest Bhoga, Ishwarya, Prasattatma. That this Bhoga and this Ishwarya, this desire to accumulate and to enjoy stuff, and the conception that I am a controller. I'm the doer and I'm controller. So when those things are there, vyavasayatmika buddhi navadiyate. It can happen. This vyavasayatmika buddhi. So then there's 5 rules. So then 10. So the first 5 are internal. The 5 rules of conduct for external purifications that are called niyamas. And that's cleanliness, austerity, perseverance, a study of the Vedas, and acceptance of the Supreme Being. And then, this is from the Manu Samhita, that is also tell us, about the Manu Samhita are laws for human beings of how to follow. So again, we live in a cosmic structure in which there's laws And we have to learn and follow the laws. So, the laws are meant to help us, develop our potential. So what are the things that are qualities? Also, in the Manu Samhita, it is described that as 10 basic dharmic qualities that we ought to develop. These are driti, firmness or fortitude; shama, forgiveness; dhamma, self-control; asteya, refraining from stealing or dishonesty; sauch, purity; indra, nigraha, control over the senses; dhi, intellect; vidya, knowledge; satyam, truth; and akrodha, absence of anger. So, we develop these things by following the process. We develop these things by not only having not a superficial understanding, but a deep understanding of the importance of follow rules and regulations. In our level, that's necessary for us to elevate ourselves to the platform of moral goodness, in which our channels are fully open to receive transcendental knowledge and to realize it. But if we don't do that, because the propensity of a conditioned soul is to be self-centered. And so we tend to have this thing of that, when the false ego is present, the false ego, the first thing that is tell us, as soon as we, enter into this material atmosphere and we cover by the false ego manifests this consciousness of aham mameti. I am, and this is mine. So it's very ingrained. It's the most subtle element before the soul. That's the most subtle element. This consciousness, I am this matter, and this is mine. In other words, Ishvara. This is mine to control. So, with that, then, our universe, our little universe, I always remember Srila Ravinda Swarup Prabhu always saying that each one of us, we have our little God project. We all have this little God project that I'm controlling this, I got it down. I got it. I understand it. I understand it. No one else can understand it. I understand it. And I will let you know, how you can enter my world and like that, So it's just part of condition. It's conditioned soul. And then as such, we go through the universe, just it's free for all. Is what Prabhupada takes the veil of our delusion and say this is just a struggle for existence. Because it's me against unlimited conditioned souls that have exactly the same idea like you. And then obviously, there's no avoidance of collisions with other little gods. So Krishna gave us a process. Krishna gave us a system. And we just have to learn it. We have to have faith on that and accept it. That system is described as Sanatan Dharma. And Sanatan Dharma, Srila Prabhupada, the Bhagavatam explains that it's almost like there's a path that is given, the dharmic path, the path of Sanatan Dharma. And that path ultimately will lead you to the supreme Dharma. That is this Savaim Punsam Parodharma, this supreme position of Dharma, which is basically Krishna Prema. So, by the process of following Sanatan Dharma, the process of Sanatan Dharma, in the Bhagavatam, Sanatan Dharma is also described as Bhagavat Dharma. Then you apply the process, and through the process, you naturally move towards Krishna Prema or Param Dharma. So, it's something that we have to accept. It's something that we have to have full faith on. And it's something that we have to embrace. The idea that, we can have a version of what Krishna has given us, it doesn't cut it. We have to apply the version. We have to apply as Krishna is given. Through the Vaishnava Acharyas, we receive a system. And we have to seriously understand it and apply it. So we have to accept a structure. We have to accept regulations. We have to accept rules, do's and don'ts. If we don't do that, then, the progress is slow or sometimes stagnant. And we know as a principle, I end with this, as a principle of physical, there's no such a thing of just hovering. Gravity will put you down. So you throw something up, either have to continue going up, but if it stops, it can hover for a fraction or some moment and then whoop, pulls down. So we either progressing or we're regressing. And it's something that naturally happens in devotional service. We are in this, it's called Anishtata Bhakti, unsteady devotional service. But if we adhere with sincerity to the process, and we accept and honor and apply a structure and rules and regulations, we can very soon elevate ourselves to break from this gripping condition that we have, this false ego stuff. Any comments or questions? Krishna Archana.
Would you be kind enough to read just prior to reading from Manu Samhita and the qualities that needed to be there that were listed from Manu Samhita? You read some other ones and I didn't catch the source that included perseverance and acceptance of God.
That is from the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Yes, and the yamas and niyamas, so these are things. So the yamas are internal, the niyamas are external.
It has very interesting implications because it means that the person coming to practice asanas or pranayam has to actually already have a mood of acceptance of the Supreme Being.
Correct.
So, because I was thinking about this, why it came to my attention through your reading, those sutras, was because of thinking of the outreach component. If one is actually, as you were mentioning, teaching Bhagavad Gita within a yoga or setting where persons have come specifically to learn asanas or pranayam, that it's actually essential that they're imbibing the teaching that there's a supreme being, because otherwise it's actually, you could say, almost a kind of offensiveness to approach something on just a physiological level.
Yeah, it's just the thing is that the result won't be there, which is elevation. So then you will practice yoga. It's like doing, Pilates or something like that. It's just a physical thing for the physical body, but it won't have an effect of elevation of consciousness because you're not applying the system. And the same thing you can tell that could happen coming to Krishna consciousness. You come to Krishna consciousness, and when you're presented with rules and regulations, you say, well, who are you? I got it. I know what I'm doing. Prabhupada said, and what, all these things. You have your own versions of following Krishna consciousness. So, same thing. The result is not going to necessarily happen. So, there's a system, and you have to apply it. There's no other way around. If you want to be a yogi, then you have to follow the structure, the regulations that Krishna has given. Yeah. Someone else?
Let's see. When you say I and mine, this is mine. It seems like, when you think about that, when you think about something as yours, there's nothing wrong with that. So that's a part of our conditioning, right?
That's a part of what?
Our conditioning, being conditioned. And, as far as making advancement, like you were saying, that's a gradual process, like you going up, as far as advancing in bhakti. And then you said we have to continue to go by the rules and regulations in order to continue to make advancement. That's a gradual process, right?
Right, exactly.
A very gradual process. Getting back to what I was saying, I never think that it's nothing wrong with me thinking that this is mine. If I work hard to buy this car,
it's my car.
This car is mine, But do Krishna think it's something bad about that? When I buy a car, I'm thinking, this is my car.
Well, Krishna is very kind, he understands, that's why he gave us a system. He gave us a culture. So in Krishna culture, when we come to Krishna cultures, we have no clue. You come to Krishna culture, I am this, I am that, I want this, I want this, and, I have different motivations that I come to Krishna consciousness. And then Krishna give us a process and give us a system. And in the system, we learn a culture. And part of the Krishna culture that we learn is that he is the owner of everything. So then we start to, by transcendental knowledge that we're receiving, our perception of the world start to change. So now I don't claim ownership, but I'm almost like a steward, as you say, a steward of Krishna's property. So it's Krishna's car, but it's under my responsibility. So I have to make sure that, I properly maintain it. It's Krishna's house, and I'm the house president, or, like that. So I have to make sure that this is well maintained, because, it's Krishna's property. So, it's a culture that we learn, that people naturally, they have that condition and think, I am a man, I'm a woman, this and that, this is mine, I work for this, and, all that, what it does is that entangles people in the law of, it's called karma bandhana, or the entanglement of actions and reactions. And you're just caught in this wheel of birth and death, with no end to it. So, in reality, it's not that Krishna is saying, oh, bad demon, go to hell forever, and burn, until for eternity. No. So it's not that he thinks that's bad, but he understands that that's a situation that is unnatural and won't give, the living entity won't find happiness in any of that. It's, it's a source of great anxiety. This is mine is the main source of anxiety that you're going to have in your life, because you have to make sure, you get attached. So someone is going to steal it, someone is going to break it, someone is going to do this, is getting old, whatever, So always in anxiety, how we maintain or how we, and then, this is mine, and then you look at the next one and say, oh, that seems to be better than mine. I want that one, so mine is now not good. So it's just a mess. So Krishna wants to free us from that. All right. Anything else, Prabhu's Matajis? Thank you so much. Karantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.